Please listen to these safety announcements. If the fire alarm goes off, visitors should exit via the door you entered through. Children will exit by the side door and the staff will bring us round to meet you. Please do not, if you wish to film or photograph the recital, please do not share it on social media. Please make sure your mobile phones are on silent.
Welcome to this 2021 Year 4 Poetry Recital. This evening we're going to perform poems in 3 categories. Some classic poetry, as well as poems from other cultures and poems written within the last year. So we hope you will enjoy our recital and will leave feeling silly, educated, or ready for interview. Nonsense poems. In this section, we will explore a number of poems that fit into the nonsense poetry genre. Some may contain made-up words, some may present you with unusual ideas, all are great to say and listen to.
On the Ning Nang Nong by Spike Milligan.
This classic poem was first published in 1915 and was voted the nation's favourite comic poem in the late 1990s.
On the Ning Nang Nong.
Where the cow goes on, and all the monkeys say boo.
On the Nong Nang Ning.
The trees go ping and the teapots chipper chapper choo.
On the Nong Ning Nang.
And the mice go clown and you just can't catch them when they go.
So it's Ning Nang Nong.
Cows go bong.
Nong Nang Ning.
Trees go ping.
Nong Ning Nang.
Mice go clown.
What a noisy place to belong is the Ning Nang Ning Nang Nong.
Mr. and Mrs. Spicky Sparrow by Edward Lear.
Edward Lear lived in the 1800s and is known for his nonsense poetry and prose, as well as lyrics of all which he popularised.
On a little piece of wood, Mr. Spiky Sparrow stood. Mrs. Sparrow sat close by, and making of an insect pie, for a little children fly in the nest and all alive, singing with a cheerful smile to amuse them all the while.
Ticky wicky wicky wee, wicky 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 wee, ticky ticky tick.
Mrs. Spiky Sparrow said,
Spicky darling, in my head, many thoughts of trouble come, like flies upon the plum. All last night and long in the good, I heard you cough, I heard you cough. I know it's come to that, because he doesn't wear a hat. Witchy 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 wee, wicky 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 wee, ticky ticky tick. Not that you are growing old, but the nights are growing cold. No one stays out all night long without a hat, I'm sure it's good.
Mr. Spiky said,
How kind, dear, you are to speak your mind. All your life I wish you luck. You are a lovely duck.
Ticky wicky wicky wee, wicky 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 wee, ticky ticky tick.
I was also sad and thinking when one day I saw you winking, and I heard you sniffle snuffle when I saw your feathers ruffle. To myself I sadly said, she's neuralgia in her head. That she head has nothing on it, ought she not to wear a bonnet?
Ticky wicky wicky wee, wicky 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 wee, ticky ticky tick.
Let us both fly up to town, there I'll buy you such a gown, which completely in their fashion, you shall tie a sky blue satin, and a pair of slippers neat, to fit your darling little feet, so that you will look and feel quite volubious and genteel.
Ticky wicky wicky wee, wicky 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 wee, ticky ticky tick.
so they both the under went alighting on the moon. The Spiky and Tucky got into the sunset. There they bought a hat, a bonnet and a gown, a second dress of cotton, and a pair of slippers.
Ticky wicky wicky wee, wicky 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 wee, ticky ticky tick.
When they were completely good, back they grew to the the children said, Oh, Mom and Pop, how truly beautiful you are. Said they shall trust the cold of things shall never see you again. While fighting 3 houses sleeping, we shall live like other people.
Ticky wicky wicky wee, wicky 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 wee, ticky ticky tick.
Lewis Carroll, not crocodile.
Charles Beasley Dodgson, better known as Penny. Lewis Carroll was a children's author, famous for his use of wordplay, logic and fantasy. He wrote many humorous and silly poems.
How doth the little crocodile improve his shining tail, and pour water of the Nile on every golden scale? How cheerfully he seems to grin and how neatly spreads his claws, and welcomes all the little fishes in, or gently smiling jaws.
Alton Nash, The People Upstairs. Alton Nash was an American poet who lived last century. His poems are known to be light with unconventional winding schemes.
People upstairs will practice ballet. Their living room is a bowling alley. Their bedroom is full of conducted tours. Their radio is louder than yours. They celebrate weekends of the week. And when they take a shower, your ceilings leak. They try to get their parties to mix by supplying their guests with poker sticks. And when the fun at last abates, they go to the bathroom on roller skates. I would love the people upstairs wonder us if instead of above us, they just lived under us. Trouble with Geraniums by Mervyn Peake.
It was said during Mervyn Peake's lifetime that his serious work was often full of humour, while his nonsense verse was full of philosophy. This particular poem was published in 1972. See if you can spot the philosophy within.
The trouble with geraniums is that they're much too red. The trouble with my toast is far too full of bread. The trouble with the diamond is that it's much too bright. The same applies to fish and stars and the electric light. The trouble with the stars I see lies in the way they fly. The trouble with myself is you're self-centered in the eye. The trouble with my looking glass is that it should be me. There's trouble in all sorts of ways where it should never be.
Poems is a lesson. Authors and poets use various techniques to help us live full and happy lives.
Benjamin Zephaniah. Everybody's doing it.
Benjamin Zephaniah's poetry was highly influenced by his Jamaican culture. In this poem, he tells us no matter what dance we're doing, we're all dancing. This can unite us from all around the world.
In Hawaii, they hula. They tango in Argentina. They reggae in Jamaica, and they rumba down in Cuba. In Trinidad and Tobago, they really do the calypso. And in Spain, the Spanish, they really do the flamenco.
In the Punjab, they bhangra, how they dance Kathak in India. Over in Guatemala, they do the sweet marimba. Even fox dancers, they invented the foxtrot. In Australia, it's true, they dance to the didgeridoo.
In Kenya, they do benga. They high life. In Ghana, they dance ballet all over. And why dance in Algeria? They jolly in Mali. In Brazil, they shamba. And the girls do belly dancing in the northern parts of Africa.
Everyone does the disco, from Baghdad to San Francisco. Many folks with recitals cannot help but dancing to jazz. They jig in Ireland, and it's really true. They still Morris dance in England when they can find time to.
By Rudyard Kipling. All in India, what is Kipling tells us how to deal with different situations in life and is filled with ultimate inspiration. It also tells us how to be a good human being.
If you can keep your head when all about you, are you losing this and blaming it on you? If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, be lied about, don't deal in lies. Or being hated, don't give away to hating, yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and treat the two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truths you've spoken, twisted by names to make a tractful fools, or watch the things you gave your life up to, broken, and stoop and build them up with worn out keys. If you can make one heap for all your winnings, and risk one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. And if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there's nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men find you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance line, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. was a narrator, poet and political activist. Most of his books are cautionary tales just like this one.
There was a boy whose name was Jim. His friends were very good to him. They gave him tea, cakes, and jam, and slices of delicious ham, and chocolate with pink inside, and little tricycles to ride, and read him stories through and through, and even took him to the zoo. But there was a dreadful fate befell him which I now relate.
You know, at least you ought to know, for I have often told you so, that children are never allowed to leave their nurses in a crowd. Now this was Jim's special foible. He ran away when he was able, and on this inauspicious day, he slipped his hand and ran away.
He had got a yarn with bang with open jaws and lions bang horizontally. The boy beginning at his feet. Now just imagine how it feels when first your toes and then your heels and then back 100 degrees. Your shins and ankles, calves and knees are slowly eating bit by bit. No wonder you detested it. No wonder that he shouted to you. The honest keeper has fight. The very fat keep almost fine. Tell the little gentleman. Ponto yonder, asked the king. For Ponto was the lion name. Ponto cried and was found. Let go, sir. Down, sir. Put it down. The lion made a somersault. Let the dainty mouse and snuggled in the snarling with disappointed ear. But when he bent him over Jim, the honest keeper's eyes were dim. The lion having eaten his friend, the little boy was dead. When Nas informed his parents, they were more concerned than I can say. His mother, as she dried her eyes, said, "Well, it gives me no surprise. He would not do as he was told." His father was self-controlled, bade all the children round to tend to James's miserable end, and always keep a hold of nurse for fear of finding something worse.
The Door by Miroslav Holub. Miroslav Holub was a Czech scientist and poet whose work was not published in his own country until after the fall of communism. Despite this, his work has been translated into over 30 languages, and he is highly regarded by critics and fellow poets. He died in Prague in 1998. Go and open the door. Maybe outside there's a tree or a wood, a garden or a magic city. Go and open the door. Maybe a dog's rummaging. Maybe you'll see a face or an eye or the picture of a picture. Go and open the door. If there's a fog, it will clear. Go and open the door. Even if there's only darkness ticking, even if there's only hollow wind, even if nothing is there, go and open the door. At least there'll be a draft.
Experience by Emily Dickinson. In this poem, each plank that the poet steps on represents the choices we make in life. These are important, so we make them precariously. As we move forward, we grow in wisdom, which we call experience. I step from plank to plank, so slow and cautiously. The stars about my head I felt, about my feet the sea. I knew not but the next would be my final aim. This gave me that precarious gait, so we call experience.
I opened a book by Julia Donaldson. Although Julia Donaldson is best known for her children's books, this poem perfectly captures the joy and escapism that can be found in books. She tells us that no matter what is going on in our lives, we can forget our troubles or be transported elsewhere just by diving into a great piece of literature. I opened the book and I strode. Now nobody could find me. I've left my chair, my house, my road, my town, and the world behind me. I'm wearing the cloak. I slipped on the ring and swallowed a magic potion. I fought with the dragon and dined with the king and dived to the bottomless ocean. I opened a book and made some friends and shared their tears and laughter. I followed their road with its bumps and bends to the happily ever after. I finished my book and out I came. The cloak can no longer hide me. My chair and my house is just the same, but I have a book inside me.
Miracle of Morning by Amanda Gorman.
Amanda Gorman is an American poet and activist who became known to the world during President Biden's inauguration earlier this year. She wrote this poem near the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, when we were only beginning to comprehend the scale of international mourning to come. However, even then, she wanted to acknowledge the promise of healing, like the light of morning that springs from despair.
I thought how it to a world in mourning, heavy cows crowding and society storming. But there's something different on this golden morning, something magical in the sunlight, wide and warm.
I see a dad with a stroller taking a jog. Across the street, a bright-eyed girl chases her dog. A grandma on a porch fingers her rosaries. She grins as her young neighbour brings her groceries.
While we might feel small, separate and all alone, our people have never been more closely tethered. The question isn't if we will weather this unknown, but how we will weather this unknown together.
On this meaningful morn, we mourn and we mend. Like light we can't be broken even when we bend. As one will defeat both despair and disease. We stand with healthcare heroes and all employees. With families, libraries, schools, waiters, artists, businesses, restaurants hit hardest.
We ignite but not in the light, but in lack thereof, for it is in loss that we truly learn to love. For in this chaos we will find clarity, in suffering we must discover solidarity.
For it's our grief that gives us gratitude, shows us how to find hope if we ever lose it. So ensure that this ache wasn't endured in vain. Do not ignore the pain, give it purpose, use it.
Read children's books, dance alone to DJ music. Know that this distance will make our hearts grow fonder. On a wave of woes, our world will emerge stronger.
We'll observe how the burdens brave from humankind are also the moments that make us humans kind. Let every dawn find us courageous, brought together. When this ends, we'll smile sweetly. In testing times, we became the best of beings.
Winter. Throughout the history of creative writing, authors and poets have taken inspiration from seasons and nature. Here are a few poems which explore winter.
Spellbound by Emily Bronte.
Although Emily Bronte is best known for her only novel, Wuthering Heights, she also published a book of poems with her sister Charlotte Anne. With this poem, she brings her readers into a single moment in time. The moment in time where she is spellbound by the winter's night. It's Wuthering Heights.
The night is darkening round me, the wild winds coldly blow, but a tyrant spells bound me, and I cannot go. The giant trees are bending, their bare boughs red of snow. But the storm is fast ascending, and yet I cannot go. Clouds beyond clouds above me, waste beyond waste below. But nothing dray can move me, and I will cannot go.
Looking by the Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. This early poem by Robert Frost tells of a traveller admiring the picturesque world. They want to stay and be still and silent in nature, but must travel on towards her.
Whose woods these are? I think I know. His house is in the village then. You will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow.
My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year.
I give my harness bells a shake to see if there is some mistake. The only other sounds of sheep is easy waving down the flake.
These woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. And miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep.
Posting Letters by Gregory House.
In this poem, the poet takes us on a short walk through a dark, wintry village. He encourages us to use our imaginations as he does, envisaging innocent trees and buildings as more sinister than the shady sea.
There are no lamps in our village, and when the owl and bat black night creeps up low fields and sidles along the manor walls, I walk quickly.
It is winter. The letters patter from my hand into the tin box on the cottage wall. The gate taps behind me, and the road in the silver of moonlight gleams greasily where the tractors have stood.
I have to go under the spread fingers of trees, under the dark windows of the old manor house, where panes and peeling frames flash like spectacles as I tiptoe. But there is no sound of him in his one room, in the Queen Anne shell behind the shutters.
I run past the gates, the iron feet gated with grass, into the church porch, standing hand on the cold door ring, where above the tongue tip of the clocks. Against the hard plate of the tower, the door groans as I push and dare myself to dash along the flagstones to the great brass bow. They put one shrinking hand upon the gritty lid of Black Tom's tomb.
Don't trample the spirits stir sit in this damp corner, but race down the aisle, blunder past front, fumble the door, leap steps, clang iron gate, and patter through the shortcut muddy lane.
Oh, what a pumping of breath and choking throat! And now there are the cattle stirring in the straw, so close.
I can hear their soft muzzling and coughs, and there are the bungalows and the steel blue mining, the little screen. And our own knocker clicking like an old friend. And I am home.
Wintertime by Robert Louis Stevenson. Robert Louis Stevenson was a Scottish poet, novelist and travel writer who lived from 1850 to 1894. This poem vividly describes a winter scene and how a child enjoys the frosty beauty of nature. It lies the wintry sun abed, a frosty fire of sleepy head, thinks but an hour or two and then a blood-red orange sets again. Before the stars have left the skies, that morning in the dark I rise, and shivering in my nakedness, a cold candle bathes. Close by the jolly fire I sit, to warm my frozen bones a bit, or with a reindeer sled explore the cold country round the wall. When to go out, my nurse doth wrap me in my comforting cap. The cold wind burns my face and blows its frosty neck off my nose. Black are my steps on silver sod, that blows my frosty breath aboard, and tree and house and hill and lake are frosted like a wedding cake. Thank you for attending the Year 4 Poetry Recital. We hope you enjoyed the evening and feel not too nonsensical.
But wiser and more ready for winter.
Please wait outside the hall for our teachers to bring us out tea.